Welcome back to Scratching the Surface on episode 37 today. I will be reviewing Sinners from director Ryan Coogler. Before I get into the episode, please check us out at scratchingthesurface100.com. You can read our monthly article blogs. You can leave and write your own horror movie reviews, and you can keep up to date for upcoming horror movies for the year of 2025 and beyond. So, Sinners just came out a couple weekends ago. I just went this last weekend. The budget for this one was $90 million. Currently at the domestic box office, it is at $122 million, which far exceeded my expectations here. I guessed that it would at least hit 50, maybe 55. And here I am looking like a dumbass. This thing has crushed it at the theaters, and people have been flocking in masses to watch this thing. It is truly a special film. I'll talk a little bit about the story itself. Fairly straightforward. Two twin brothers who are played by Michael B. Jordan, so he plays two roles here, return home to Mississippi to start up a jukebox joint. And they've got a lot of money. They are mysterious people. The folks of the town don't know where they got the money, but anyways, they return home and they find that a sinister evil awaits them there. That is the basic premise of the movie, one that has some intrigue alone. The trailers for this one always looked really good, and they definitely built the hype for folks. So when these two guys return home, they meet some people that they used to know in the town. They start spreading the word that this jukebox joint will be opening on a given night. So they're trying to get the word out. They're trying to get the funds to get this thing going. They find a location, an old warehouse, where they are going to have their joint set at. Now, while they're at the jukebox joint, they're having a good night, just having a grand old time. Some people show up, and these are Irishmen, and they seem a little bit suspect in their intentions. You can tell the twins are a little leery of them as well. They say they want to join the club. They want to come in. They want to have a good time with everybody and just dance and enjoy the night. Well, we knew in an earlier scene that these Irishmen were being chased from house to house, town to town by some Native Americans who knew they were vampires and they were trying to take them out. Well, they didn't get them. They weren't able to kill them, so they ended up here at this joint. And they asked to come in. They say no. The Irishmen go away. They just sit outside, creepily playing music on their own. Eventually, Haley Steinfeld's character goes out to confront them because she's just kind of pissed off about why they're there. Why the hell are you guys there? Get out of here. If you're not coming in, we don't want you in. Please get out of here. Well, something happens, and we end up seeing her character a few moments later inside with Stack, one of the twin brothers, and they are a couple. They start making love. There's a lot of sexual tension in this movie as well, but it's a fun sexual tension, honestly. And while they're making love, she ends up taking a chunk out of Stack's neck. And it's revealed to us that she was converted to a vampire by the Irishmen outside. So all hell after this begins to break loose. It's just basically a fight between the group at the jukebox joint and the vampires outside that are trying to get in. So that's simple. That's all there is to the rest of the movie for the most part. But this is where the symbolism really, really comes in because it's layered. The movie's so layered in its meaning. And I love that the choice of the vampires being Irishmen was done by Coogler because that gives a more two-dimensional villain. If it was just a white vampire, then we would have zero sympathy for these vampires. We would want them killed. Absolutely 100%. But the fact that they are Irishmen adds a little bit more of a dilemma to us for viewers. The Irish, of course, were treated very poorly when they came to America. And initially they were indentured servants for people in the colonies. And that didn't work out. So then we end up seeing slavery, which was obviously awful. But the Irishmen, they went through some shit as well, but they assimilated because of their whiteness. They had the ability to do that. Whereas the African Americans, they got left behind, which is awful. So there's this layer of complexity to that villain that you're like, okay, obviously they seem very evil right now, but I also know these are Irishmen, and you know what they went through as well. So there's some kind of empathy you're having, and you're struggling with that in the movie theater as you're watching the film, and it really adds a beautiful layer of complexity that makes this so enjoyable. So these vampires end up eventually taking the majority of these community members out at the joint. They all pass, and there's a lot of good fight scenes. There's some funny lines of dialogue as well here and there. And the ending of the movie is where there's going to be questions for most viewers. And this is where the paths that the viewers can choose can deviate a little bit. That's intentional through the writing from Coogler and through his direction style, that he wants it to be that way. When most of the characters are gone, all we really have left is Sammy and twin brother Smoke. So Stack is gone now. He's a vampire. Smoke is still human. Sammy is still human. Everybody else, pretty much vampires at this point. Smoke and Stack are having some crazy fight scenes, which goes back to the CGI, the digital effects here, between the same actor, which looked so convincing, looked very real. Don't know how they did it, but they did it well. And through this fight, we kind of end with a scene of Smoke about to drive a stake through the heart of Stack. And I should have mentioned that a lot of the vampire tropes do come into play here in terms of stabbing them with a stake through the heart, or using garlic as a way to defend yourself against them. So a lot of those tropes come back here, which I'm fine with seeing that. But we see Smoke and Stack in that fight, Smoke about to drive the stake through the heart, and then we cut away from that scene. We then see Sammy going up against Remick, who is the lead Irishman that we see the majority of this movie. And these two are fighting, and the sun's kind of coming up. And Sammy's about to get killed here by Remick, but last second, Smoke comes in to save him, drives a stake through Remick's heart. So we don't know what happened to Stack after that one scene I just mentioned. We cut straight to this scene with Sammy and Remick ends up getting drove through with a stake by Smoke. Smoke saves Sammy. And then we hear Remick before that even saying to Sammy about how back in the day he struggled with religion. He said that we had Christianity pushed upon us, our community of people, and I always hated it, is what Remick says. But I still find comfort in its music and its teachings, which adds another layer of complexity to the character of these vampires. And then right after that, we have Smoke come in and saving Sammy. So that adds a little bit of mystery to the vampires after hearing that. But Smoke saves him. We then have Sammy and Smoke left at the end. Sammy returns home to his father at the church house. And then we see Smoke waiting at the warehouse for the people that he purchased the warehouse from to open this jukebox joint. We find out that the people they bought it from were members of the Ku Klux Klan. And this was a setup. They were going to have them buy the place, open up their joint, and then when all of the people were there the next morning, they'd come in and they'd kill them all. These white folks would kill all the African-American, the black folks within the joint, which is terrible. And stuff like this did happen. We cannot overlook that. It's an awful period of American history, but I'm glad we are where we are today. And, we're all human beings. And this is the allure of the vampire in this movie. This is why we have choices in the movie. So Smoke waits for those folks to show up. He's got, I think, a BAR, and he also has a Thompson. So when these people get here, he's just unloading this weapon on all these guys, takes out maybe 30 Ku Klux Klan members. But he does go down in a blaze of glory. He does take a shot to the gut, and he does pass away at the very end. And a tranquil passing away for Smoke. It's a peaceful, introspective moment for him. He is okay with death. He accepts it fully, and he passes away peacefully in that last scene. We then have a mid-credits scene, which is so important for people, because if you don't stick around for it, it doesn't make as much sense. Before we cut to the credits, we see, in the future, I can't remember if it was like 1960, 1970. I'm sorry, I can't remember the year exactly. Maybe it was even the 90s, but either way, we see we see an older Sammy playing at a blues joint. And before that, we had seen Sammy going back to the preacher house. He looks like he's going to return to his dad and to the ways of God and living this reserved lifestyle. But then he ends up, the next scene, we see him driving away with his guitar, his banjo in hand, driving to and pursuing his dreams ultimately in music. And all the while in this movie, Sammy is depicted as somebody with an ability to pierce through space-time, quite literally, with his ability to play music. And we see a really cool scene in the middle of the movie as well at the joint when he's playing his blues music, and it almost opens up this other realm of future and past in music and all the variations of Black culture in terms of the music they've made. And we have this collage of music being played by different generations, different decades of time, all at once in the juke joint. And this was all done pretty much in one shot by Coogler. It looks fucking amazing. Total chills, and just one of those, out of your seat moments where you leave your body kind of experience. Beautiful. And he has this ability, he has this power. And so at the end, we see he actually chose the path of music. He is a very successful blues player who he's played by evidently a real guy that is a really famous blues player at that end mid-credit scene. And when he's done playing for the people at the bar, in walks Stack, one of the twin brothers that we didn't really see his ultimate demise earlier on in that final act. And with him is Mary, Haley Steinfeld's character. These two are a couple throughout the movie. They both returned into vampires, but we see that they are still alive as vampires 50 years later, or whatever the years are. And they say to Sammy, love your music, man. You're great. And Sammy, obviously, he knows who they are. He recognizes them. And he reveals, Stack does, that Smoke made a deal with him, that he would not kill him if he'd leave Sammy alone and let Sammy live his life. So vampires evidently need to be welcomed inside to a joint. They also need to follow demands, evidently. So Sammy was spared through all this. And I think maybe it's because Stack loved his music and Mary loved his music, and the vampires loved his music because they had a richness to the soul. The people that played the music had stronger souls that were more of desire for the vampires. So we end the film with them both just talking about and reminiscing over that day at the joint in 1932. And both the vampires at the end there, Stack and Mary, agree with Sammy. It was the most amazing day of their life. They both, all three of them, felt free in that moment. And the movie ends. And this confirms for us, we have a choice as the viewer, and they all have some kind of allure. The vampires felt free in their way of being a homogenous group of people that are not separated or segregated by race or color. They are all one people. They know all of each other's memories. There is no judging. There is no lying. They have music. They love music. So there's an allure in that side of things. But then you see Sammy. He took the path here of music, of pursuing a dream. And it worked out for him. And that's beautiful. But he had some hardships, and he has the fragility of life. He will die. He's already getting old. And then you look at the preacher path that could have been taken, the religious path. Yes, there's some pros in that as well. You probably would have a good quality life. You'd probably have great morals. You'd have a good family. But you might always feel like you didn't achieve enough in your life. So we have three paths to choose, and they're all really, really good. So extremely layered, extremely good all around. This is easily the best movie of 2025 for the genre, and it will not be topped. That is clear, cut, and dry. There's so many cool choices, from having the color symbolism of Stack and Smoke wearing red and blue, and then having Sammy wearing brown, all of these things are really cool. The red can signify anger, passion, and love. You then have the blue signifying introspection, intrigue, and mystery, as well as calmness. And then the brown signifying reliability and stability and a closeness to the earth. All of these choices throughout the film are neatly done and inspired. And this is truly an original story. We talk about remakes all the time and all these reboots and why are they making this? It's just a money grab. Well, here you have an original story that's beautiful from start to end and looks amazing. So Sinners, it's a 5 out of 5 easily for me. And I look forward to whatever else Coogler and Jordan work on together in the future. So that is all I have for now, guys. Thank you and keep watching horror.